Hello, this is Fred. With Profile and the social networks I'm responsible for, what I really enjoy the most is talking with those people who make it all possible. Today, it's one of the best keyboard player of modern age, as far as I'm concerned. Richard Barbieri, how are you doing, sir?
Good, good, thank you.
Just to name a few, in the 70s, there was Japan. In the 80s, the Dolphin Brothers, Rain Tree Crow. In the 90s, No Man, Porcupine Tree, creating Medium Productions label. Later, solo project, music for films, publications, and many other side projects. This is an impressive career. Anything you haven't done?
Um, I would have liked to have joined Radiohead, but apart from that, I've not done too badly, as you say. Yeah, two very good bands and a lot of really interesting projects. And I guess I've managed to make alternative music and still somehow make a living and keep on being a professional musician for now probably 43 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
2019 marked the release of the amazing Plus Personal album, your first solo album since 2008. Looking back, how did it turn out, like going back solo, and how was the response from the fans?
The response was really good because I hadn't done anything for quite a while. And that album and the whole making of the album was for me a great experience. I really felt that I'd kind of made a leap forward as an artist. And it was just a case of working with a lot of different musicians and it being old school, being back in the studio again, relating to people there and then, improvising in the studio. And the whole event just seemed quite important for me. And I was really, really pleased with the result and with the sound and every aspect really of that album.
So most of us know that, your solo album will not sound like a Porcupine Tree or a Japan album. How would you personally describe your solo music in general? Like, is there even a genre to even describe it?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to describe. I suppose when I'm left to my own devices, I default to electronic music, which is the basis for it, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. I think right from the beginning as an artist. So there's the electronic side, and then after I incorporate acoustic performances, jazz kind of influences a little bit more recently, some kind of progressive sections, melody and structure. So it always sounds like me, I think, and people can recognize that. But I suppose to answer the question, I'd start from the default, which is electronic music.
Okay. Yesterday, February 26th, you released your brand new baby titled Under a Spell.
Mm.
First, congratulations. How was it to write and produce an album under the worldwide pandemic that we're all suffering from?
Well, it was very different. And of course, I had planned to work in a lot of studios with musicians in much the same way I'd made the previous album, but that wasn't an option, of course. And everything became a little bit smaller and a bit more introspective. But I still managed to use a lot of performances from other musicians. I had lots of session performances that I used in this recording in a different context. Also, there were performances that were done and sent to me, so relating directly to the tracks that I was writing then, and I was very pleased with those. But overall, it felt more of a lonely experience, and most of the influence was coming from the kind of strange, eerie situation outside, and also as a result of really weird dreams that I was having, very vivid kind of dreams that kind of didn't end with waking up. It kind of stayed with you in the day, and it just became part of the things that were informing the music, really.
So the subject matter, I know there's no lyrics, but the subject matter associated to the album is related to the pandemic, is it?
It's related to probably my kind of mental state more than anything else. Also to the pandemic and the strange atmosphere that was prevalent, but it was these kind of very strange, vivid dreams, and some of them lucid as well, that were kind of the main influence. And I was trying to create a musical template to explain those kind of visions and those feelings. So sometimes the album is a bit heavy on atmosphere, and maybe not so heavy on melody or structure, but I just went with it. You know, I knew it might be a harder listen than my previous album, but that's the way it went.
Yeah, so it's quite different from Plus Persona.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rarely an artist can play all instruments and vocals on an album. We know that Steve Hogarth and Listen Rylander collaborated with background vocals. Can you share who else took part of the journey?
Well, there was a lot of musicians. I mean, there's a Swedish band called Isildur's Bane who I've worked with a lot in the past, and they're kind of a large rock ensemble. And they've been going since the 70s, and there's been a lot of changes in the lineups, obviously, but it's a diverse selection of instrumentation there. And I've worked with them over the years, past 4 or 5 years, and I really value their performances. So I used vibraphone, drums, percussion, bass guitars, some acoustic guitar, trumpet, violin. So a lot of different flavors. I suppose in terms of featured musicians, I guess the most recognizable might be Percy Jones, the bass player from Brand X, and who did all the bass parts on the great Eno albums in the 70s. And I've worked with him on maybe 2 or 3 of my albums now. And he kind of takes over a track. It really becomes this bass arrangement, and it's amazing. So it was nice to work with him again. Working with voices, as you say, like with Leeson or Steve Hogarth. There's an American girl that I use her voice a lot called Sophie Worthen. And the idea is that I like these vocal textures, but I don't want them informing the music or saying anything. I don't want any lyrical content. I just want these sounds.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I grew up being fascinated by voices in music, not conventional voices. You know, I don't know if you know a German band called Can.
Yes.
In the mid-70s, there was an album called Future Days. And the vocalist was dreadful. It was like awful vocal sound, mumbled these vocals. You couldn't hear anything that he was saying, and it was really bad quality, but it had this magical feel to it, and it became like an instrument. And that fascinated me. And also prior to that, the sampled voices that Brian Eno and David Byrne used in My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, how they incorporated radio broadcasts and evangelical recordings into their music. That was always a big fascination as well. So there's always a place for voices in my music.
Yeah. What about the title? Like, what does it mean to you?
Well, the title was really just feeling that you were being controlled and that there was something above you that was pressurizing you and having an effect on you daily. So in a way, you're under like a trance. And I the title came to me, and I thought, well, that's great. I like that. So you're under a spell. You're under this hold on you. That's kind of what it is.
Throughout your career, you've played with like ultra talented musicians. Like today, if you could create your dream band, including yourself on keyboard, like who would take part of it?
Well, I think I did that once before. Whenever you choose a dream band, Um, on paper, it looks fantastic, but probably it will be a complete nightmare. So maybe in reality, the dream band was something like Japan or something where you got four people who are self-taught and all have their own style, and you know where you learn together and you don't know the rules, so you end up breaking the rules. Of course, if I choose the greatest musicians, it's a different thing. But if I had to, who would I have? I'd have Jeff Buckley on vocals. I would have, who would I have on drums? I would have the drummer of Magma.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name? Christian Vander on drums. Jaco Pastorius on bass. Stevie Wonder on keyboards. On one keyboard, and on the other keyboard section, on the other side, Joe Zawinul. And, and another keyboard player, Ron Mail from Sparks. So lots of keyboard players, and I wouldn't be in it.
No.
That's my favorite band, yeah.
Wow. A few weeks ago, I spent some time interviewing Steven Wilson, and at some point during the interview, he said that there would be a new Porcupine Tree album when we least expect it. So I don't wish to put you on the spot or anything like that, but what do you think about this statement?
Well, you've put me right on the spot. But the thing you have to remember with Stephen is that he changes his mind a lot over the years. He will change his mind, usually every year, and there'll be a different comment on Porcupine Tree. So sometimes it's never going to happen again. Sometimes it's possible, and then it's never going to happen again. Well, that's good because, you know, it's a possibility. Let's just say it's not impossible. I don't think the last album was the greatest album to finish on, in my opinion. And in a way, it would be nice to make a really great album. But who knows?
You're definitely
you
not
put me on
it.
The spot.
But you're not against it.
I'm not against it, no. I've never been against it. I mean, I've stopped kind of thinking about it in recent years. I mean, initially I was thinking about it all the time, and I couldn't understand, and I wanted the group to reform and to keep going. But the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't really thought much about it. You know, after a while, it just you let go of things, and they're kind of just in the past. They become part of history. But you know, we've been doing things with a lot of re-releases lately, and we've been talking a lot lately. So you know, who knows?
Any plans or projects right now, like that we haven't heard of? Like anything you can share with us?
Well, my focus now, after having made the solo album, is usually that I like to go back to working with people. That's what's more enjoyable for me. And I've written a couple of things with Tim Bowness from No Man. So that's a possibility. We could continue with that, and we could get to an EP or possibly an album stage in the future. And I just started writing something with Steve Jansen as well after 20 years or so. So I don't know where that's going, and that could take a while, but it's still nice to be exchanging ideas. So yeah, I guess I'm thinking a bit more in collaborative terms now at the moment rather than solo stuff.
Perfect. We're close to the end of the interview, but I have a few more questions. They only require 1 or 2 word answers. Okay, one word to describe your new album, Under a Spell.
Immersive.
Oh, love it. Is there one instrument you wish you could learn to play but simply can't?
Keyboards.
I love your humor. Throughout your many years with Porcupine Tree, what song did you enjoy playing live the most?
I think the track Anesthetize, because it's in three parts. It lasts for about 20 minutes and it kind of has all the aspects of the group within that one composition. And looking at the Anesthetize DVD, live concert DVD, it amazes me every time I see it. I think it's just such a great performance. And I rarely listen to my own music or the music of bands that I've been in, but I can go back to that performance in Holland that was filmed, and it just amazes me how good we were. And that song, I think, really, if you had to say what's PT all about, then that song will cover it, because it goes from the extremes, really.
It's my personal favorite. Absolutely. Yep. Hard question. If you could be, it could be for fame or financial reasons, but one song you wish you had written yourself.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not a songwriter as such, not being a vocalist, but I do write for vocalists sometimes. And my hit rate is about 1 in 12. So for every 12 things that I give a vocalist, one of them they'll pick up and maybe use. So it's not my forte, but my favorite song of all time is God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. I mean, it's absolute genius, the most genius piece of music you'll ever hear. It has absolutely everything, and the track lasts, I think, 2 minutes, 50 seconds. You've got intros, verses, bridges, choruses, instrumental sections, refrains. I mean, you've got absolutely everything in there in 2 minutes, 50 seconds. It's a masterpiece.
You personally, when listening to music, are you more into pop, jazz, blues, rock, or any other genre?
Pop is the main thing that I'll always turn to. You know, I think pop music encompasses such a broad spectrum of styles and genres. So, I mean, if I went into a record store, you've got everything in the pop section. That's where all the art is for me. I mean, of course, certain jazz things I like, certain soul things I like, certain ambient things, certain electronic, but in a way, pop encompasses all those things as well. And for me, the genius pieces of music have all come from pop music, I find. Which isn't to say they're very sort of trite and very sort of basic. Some compositions are just stunning, but it's under the rock and pop umbrella. So
you can bring only one album on an island. Which one would it be?
Hang on.
Talk. Yes.
Spirit of Eden. I had that one to hand, but I could also have gone across the room and got Rock Bottom by Robert Wyatt, which is another really important album. But you said one, didn't you? So I'm cheating.
Growing up, do you remember the first album you purchased with your own money?
It's hard to know, you know, because I was always being bought stuff. So maybe like I was bought a lot of Beatles and a lot of the usual things that people are. I think the first thing I actually bought might have been Electric Warrior by T-Rex.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
And last one for you, sir. What was the first keyboard you owned?
It was this awful kind of home organ, entertainment organ thing called a Jumbo Gem, and it had 4 sounds, and it was truly dreadful. I, and that's what I used when I first joined Japan in 1975, and it was yeah.
Did you keep it?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Oh.
There's so much I should have kept, but there you go.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for this. It was a wonderful half hour. I wish you tons of success with the new album.
Thank you.
I love it. Personally, I love it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Nice speaking to you. Take care.